I'm not in the mood for an electronics project right now. I don't want to burn my fingers with a soldering iron. I don't want to get frustrated, and I don't want to distract myself from writing music. This is the other one. I think this would be the one that I would probably want to get if you're going to do it, because it's the same price. And with this one, you can actually drive any reverb tank you want. So you could put it on a long decay 2-spring, a medium decay 3-spring, a short decay 2-spring, you know, whatever you want, in whatever size you want. And you could have all 3 of them and figure out a way to daisy chain them or whatever and have different settings. You could do all kinds of crazy stuff. But even the ability to just be able to change out tanks, like say you want to record something and you want the big super dramatic reverb with a long decay 2-spring, you would record your track or play your show with that tank. Say for another one, you're like, you know, I'd rather have the short decay, like a smaller sound, less reverb, less of an effect, and just, you know, then you could switch out. And you could always, at any point, decide that you wanted to go in a different direction by changing tanks. This looks really cool, and I went and looked at his page, and I did a little segment on it on how to spend it, on the how to spend it page, and I mean on the how to spend it video. And this one was the one I was the most excited about, and I almost bought this one. The only reason I didn't, and I probably eventually will try this pedal out for another project, is I just wasn't in the mood to, you know, to do the project right now. I just couldn't picture doing it. You know, getting all into it and getting distracted with another, you know, project that wasn't making, you know, music. Okay, so the one that I eventually went to, I think I've gone through all the different ones that I looked at, is the Martin Headroom. And the Martin Headroom sort of combines all of the things that I liked about the pedals that I've been showing you. Okay, for starters, it comes in its own metal enclosure that's basically a reverb tank. And inside of it is a 3-spring system. And this 3-spring system, I think, is part of kind of what makes the Martin different maybe than some of the other ones. Because I think with this 3-spring system, you're getting a more refined audiophile type tone. I want to show you really quickly what these springs look like, because it's really cool the way he's got this thing mounted in here. But anyway, you've got these 3 springs mounted in here, and from what I've been able to ascertain, the 3-spring gives you more kind of like a controlled reverb that's maybe a little more audiophile, as opposed to the 2-spring, which is more dramatic and you know, more dramatic. But anyway, and maybe more of that kind of drip tone. Whereas I think with the Martin, you're getting more of just an overall really, you know, nice sounding reverb tone, which I think at the end of the day is really what I'm looking for. And I don't have to do any soldering. I don't have to do any assembly. I don't have to go through parts or any of that stuff. I'll just get the pedal and I'll plug it in, and if I love it, I'll keep it, and if I don't, I'll move it. That was the other thing. Since I haven't had any experience with these spring reverb pedals, if I don't like it, this will be much easier to sell. And I got a really good price on it. I paid $179 for this from Sam Ash out in Westminster. And I used to live out there, so I decided to go with that. And I figured Sam Ash is a big company, and they'll be responsible about shipping it out and all that kind of stuff. Comes with the original box. And it says it has no dings, dents, or scratches, appears unused. What's really cool about this one is that it's very simple. And so I ordered it, boom, bought it. But what's cool about the circuit on this one is that you have identical circuits, 2 channels with identical circuits. So what's really interesting to me is that you could plug into it. Say I was going into this amp or the Fender. I could have one channel that I have on that has like a nice kind of moderate reverb setting that just improves the tone of my amp, makes my guitar sound a little more lush, just puts it over the top, gives it that little something that just makes it sound great. You feel good about your overall tone. Then, if you wanted a more extreme reverb, you could crank the second channel all the way up, maybe save it for a solo, maybe save it for special moments or an effects moment, you know, a noise moment or something. You're going to have a noise, cacophonious noise thing going on in the middle of a tune. Sonic Youth thing. Stomp on the pedal, make the springs make their crazy noise, and then you're into the other channel that you've turned all the way up or whatever, or gotten it to more of an extreme state. That's really cool. 2 separate reverb options on tap. So that attracted me. The simplicity of it attracted me. The simple circuit attracted me. So I went with the Carl Martin. And the other cool thing that happens with this Carl Martin is on the front you see these 2 screws on this sort of thing in the front. When you take them down, you're protecting the springs. So let's say you've got to put this in your trailer or in your van. You're going to the show. You're tossing in your front seat. Now, instead of the springs rattling around and potentially breaking or popping off the the transducer, they are protected by a foam pad. So it's like a sponge that's kind of pressing down and sort of protecting it from damage. And I thought that was a very cool move to put that on there. Really cool. So that's kind of the way they kind of pitch the pedal marketing wise, is to just say, hey, you got one channel has a soft small room reverb on channel A, and then a much more dramatic and dark large room reverb on channel B. So anyway, I was going on YouTube, and like I said, I got all my ideas about which pedal I would want ultimately based on YouTube videos. Put headphones on and really tried to listen. And because I don't have much experience with pedals, I typically just plug straight into an old Marshall circuit or an old Fender circuit. It seems to be the way I do things. I've used Vox and Ampeg as well. And that just seems to be the way I go. So I haven't spent a lot of time with researching pedals, but I saw an episode of the Pedal Show where they did a kind of shootout of different reverb options. Some of them were digital pedals, and then the actual spring reverb pedal. And they had this Carl Martin, and it was really standing out because it's white and it's big. It's like 2 big muffs put together. Whereas the rest of the pedals were just, the digital brick pedals or smaller spring pedals. And the 2 guys, I forgot their names. This is called That Pedal Show. And I think they're from, I'm not sure. But I watched the video, and I thought that one was the best sounding one. They played through it, and they really loved it. One of the guys really was crazy for it. And so that got me, excited about the pedal, and when I looked into it further, it just sort of checked out. Like it was checking and ticking all the boxes of everything that I was sort of trying to achieve with the pedal. So going over to, and I've got the manual here, and what's neat is like there's really nothing to it. And the other really cool thing about it that makes it very, very usable for people is that you can remote bypass it or remote switch it. So you basically can connect a pedal of some kind of remote switch, and you could have the reverb behind your amp or inside your amp. If like you had an open back amp, you could have it sitting inside, and then the switch that you have out here could control the pedal remotely, and you would not expose the pedal to stage rumble or worry about breaking it because somebody kicks it or whatever. That would be really cool. And it shows the little transport safety device here in the manual. Very simple. There's really not much to it. I noticed this one does not have a dwell knob, which makes it kind of different and unusual. Let me see if there's anything else about it. Bypass, reverb select allows you to shift between the 2 presets. The reverb level sets the amount of room on either preset A or B. The tone is a high cut frequency control on either preset A or B. And I think the channels are identical if I remember correctly. Input impedance is 1M, output impedance is 1.6. That's the other interesting thing about these reverb tanks that was interesting about the Moody kit. On the Moody kit, you could use a very low input, like a few hundred ohm or something like that coming in, and then he had one that could be much more. So some of these are, the input impedance is really high, and then on some of them it's barely any at all. Some of it is transformer driven, and some of it is, shoot, I forgot. there's a transformer. The transformer, I think, is for the low ohms, and then there's a capacitor-driven version for higher input impedance. So that's something you have to keep in mind. That's why you can't connect your guitar to one of those old stereo units. The typical thing that would drive that would not work because the ohms are off. But that Moody pedal will. That Moody pedal will drive lower impedance and higher impedance tanks. I thought that was kind of cool. The other thing that's awesome about this pedal, runs on a 9-volt battery, and apparently, according to those the guys at the pedal show, it hardly uses any power at all. So a 9-volt will go for days. I mean, that's really cool, because that's one of those things you don't want to be constantly replacing batteries. And anytime you have to connect more power, more potential for noise, you've got to find an outlet. That's one of the reasons I don't mess around with pedals. It's too much trouble at a show. I really love being able to roll up, crank up my amp, plug directly in. I have to watch everyone else struggle with all their connections, you know. So I like to keep my connections to a minimum. Plus, being a purist as far as like the sound connections go, and like, you know, purity of sound, it's much better when you're coming from a guitar going right into something as opposed to passing through all these circuits, you know. You just start losing stuff. Every time you connect, you're losing something. So that's just kind of my trip. But anyway, I went with the Carl Martin, really based on the way, oh, and also Pete Thorne, if you go to the Carl Martin page, you know, where they're selling, where they're, not just the manual itself, but the actual page, their site, they have a Pete Thorne video on there. And that was the other big selling point, is his playing was freaking incredible. Really good. And here's a screenshot of the inside of it. You can see that it's a 3-spring unit. Very simple, like PC board sitting in there, mounted in there. You can see the little transducers. You got a blue and black wire on one end. On both ends you have blue and black wire. You see that little yellow bit on one end and then a red bit on the other. Those are the two different transducers that kind of twist the springs. One goes this way, like I said, and one pulls. And yeah, really, really cool. And I'm assuming that if your springs were to break, unless they've discontinued this tank, the other thing I'm curious about is if you could put another tank in there. It might not fit perfectly, or might be something wrong about it, but as long as you could connect the transducers to the power supply, it seems like as long as you could like physically get it in there, it would work, and that would open up even more opportunities. You could do 2-spring as opposed to 3-spring, which is what it comes with. So that intrigues me as well. The simplicity, the quality of construction, and man, the sound sample. If you go to that pedal show and listen to them play it, it sounded really nice. And then Pete Thorne on their page does a demo. There's another guy that does a demo too, but the Pete Thorne one sounded really, really nice. Like just a nice audiophile sort of level reverb. Not so much for the crazy effects or for the surf thing, but if you just want like really, really nice reverb tone to, in addition to whatever nice tone you're turning out with your guitar amp combination, it seemed like the right way to go, and his playing was awesome. I mean, it was like, it really worked for me. When I saw him playing, listened to it, heard the pedal, it all just sort of came together, and I was like, you know, the Carl Martin, and the price, $179, the pedal came in like right at $200 with tax and shipping. And you can't go wrong, because like I said, can resell it, you know, if I don't like it. I'd probably be able to get my money back or close to it, because most of the time, most of the pedals I saw were a few bucks more than that. They were like around the 200 mark before shipping and taxes. So anyway, as soon as I get the pedal, I'll connect it. We'll do a demo. I'll run it through the 18-watt. I'll run it through the Fender Deluxe. I have my Les Paul Custom. I'll have a Schecter Tele that has push-pull pots. You can hear all the different things that does. I'll bring a couple Strats. I'll bring my new Limbus Strat, the original red Squire, a bunch of guitars, just so you can hear what it does. I'm hoping it's going to solve my reverb dilemma of not having reverb, and give me audiophile quality sound, is what this one guy was saying in the review. And from listening to it, it had the most pure sort of neutral tone of all of them. Like I said, the other ones, now I did not hear the Wild Beast. I did not hear the Moody Sounds one. There was not samples of those. And those would be builds, you know. The Wild Beast is already built, but the Moody Sounds would be a build. So I don't know what those sound like. I bet they sound awesome. I'm just knowing they sound really good. But I didn't know for sure, and the Carl Martin, due to that pedal show video and the Pete Thorne demo that's on the Carl Martin page, I knew for sure that that sounded good. I knew for sure that that was something I could live with, and it had springs, and it's very simple and analog. That was important. All of those things were important to me. So if you're looking for analog, if you're looking for simplicity, if you're looking for a good aesthetic, you know, that's important to me too. I don't want to look it down and see some ugly thing, you know, that's going to be in my world all the time. Picky like that. I like the way it looks. It's white. I like his the font on his, you know, his name, his logo, or their name. I'm not sure what the deal with Carl Martin is, but it just looks like they have a good reputation, and this is a well-made pedal. So as soon as I get it, I'll do the demo, and we'll see what it sounds like. If it doesn't sound the way I want it to, we're going to try something else. So the other videos I'm going to be making soon, as we close out this year, trying to do some more videos before, you know, January 1st gets here. I'd like to get to 100 videos. I really just started this channel in April. I'd put up some music a long time ago, but didn't really follow up on it and do much with it. And now I'm really interested in it for documenting things. So the next thing I want to document is what happened next to that Surfer Girl guitar. That's going to be in a giveaway. And Kevin Oldsoul is doing some amazing stuff with that guitar. It really turned out well. He's got a couple more videos in the series. I'm going to follow up on that and let you know what's going on with that, because it's going to be given away, and it's going to be a cool guitar. It looks great. And it's going to sound great. He's great. And so I'm going to do a video about that. I'm going to get back to my Zoom series. I'm waiting for this Carl Martin pedal now, because I'm thinking that adding that little bit of reverb is going to do something magical to this track. So I want to wait and hear that before I lay the guitar down. And honestly, I've just not been able to practice with the holiday season. So I'm going to practice that track, get it ready. I'm going to come in here and record it. We're going to mess around with effects. That's what I'm going to do for the Zoom people. And then let me see what else. At some point this year, soon, I'm going to bring in my Boss BR8 and show people how to use that thing, because that's what I started with on home recording in this most recent run of digital home recording, was the Boss, which sent me into the Zoom. But that Boss unit is handy. It's smaller, and usually on that one I just use the built-in drum tracks instead of trying to record drums. Although I did record drums a couple times with it. I mounted it up above the drums and literally just went. I'll play a couple samples, but I'd like to help the people that have that out if I can use my knowledge to give them some assistance too. So it's going to be the Carl Martin reverb pedal. We'll demo it soon as I get here, and as soon as I get it, I'll start laying down these tracks and move forward with that. I've got 5 more songs anyway to record, so there'll be plenty of videos about the Zoom this year. Hopefully I'll learn new things from you guys, and I can incorporate it in the videos and get even more demonstrative, helpful, so that you can you know, have success with your projects too. Anyway, thanks for sitting through these. I know I'm long-winded. You can always just, you know, fast forward through, and I'm going to try to start putting more links to let people know where the good stuff is. So if you don't want to hear my yakking, you can just zip past it, because I know that I do that, and I can tell that there's been people that have commented. So if it's bumming you out, just, you know, zip through it and get the good stuff out, and just close your ears on the rest of it. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, and see you next time.